Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of What We Do in the Shadows local news. And we're about halfway through the season, and this one was another kind of weird one. I liked the premises of the two competing stories that we got here. What was going on with vampires and what was going on with Guillermo. However, it mainly got down to the execution where Guillermo just gets kind of screwed on to what's going on with the vampires, even though we get some interesting kind of character development out of it. I just think that they kind of reduced the characters to certain kind of archetypes of what was going on into the situation, and I really wish that they had fleshed out Guillermo's thing more with what he was doing, because we've got that there was a water main break near the house that the vampires live, and then the ensuing chaos that kind of starts rolling through what's going on. And it felt more like a Seinfeld bit rather than a What We Do in the Shadows bit. Now granted, that's not to say that Seinfeld's bad, but it just felt like we got our different kind of archetypal role characters doing this kind of stuff, and then it kind of just like does weird stuff with them, and then we eventually get to the end where it felt like the whole episode was predicated on the end and then working backwards of how to kind of get there. So let's do Guillermo's first. He's going to talk to his mother about that he won't be able to see her much because he brings up the whole vampire hunter blood. And I've been talking with Reverb Jill Sandwiches that it doesn't seem like they bring up that often enough, because it's like Guillermo should have probably thought of that right off the bat of why is it such a weird kind of thing of what's going on with him transforming into a vampire. And we find out that he gets there and that he had forgot his mother's birthday. And it's kind of just like, oh god. And then of course it gets bolted back onto the vampire story as he's trying to figure out what's going on while also telling his mother about this, and he kind of goes back and forth with it. He's talking with Laszlo and trying to get him to stop all this certain kind of stuff, actually calling Sean to get him to be like, stop the vampires, like stop them from leaving the house. And he's like, can't, man, there's a water main break where everything's shit pretty much. And then everything that's kind of ensuing with that. Everybody pretty much left for the party. He pretty much brings up that he's in between positions at the moment because of the promotion and all that. Pretty much talking about the his boss lying to him about the promotion, which I'm glad he kind of sees, but he really kind of doesn't. His family member Miguel pretty much calling him out on this and just doing all this work and everything like that. And of course, he then gets sucked into the vampire shenanigans of what's going on and gets, like, pretty much screws over his mother's birthday party. And then he talks about that he's not going to be able to see her much. And she's like, oh, it's okay, you forgot your cross. And then gives him a cross and it actually burns him. We see that he's kind of fading in the reflection, which are nice touches. And then he pretty much leaves. And then accidentally rips off a thing in the elevator that's kind of like a railing, and it's like, oh shit. And then it even dovetails more into what's going on with the vampires. So with the vampires, we see pretty much from the perspective of a local news station that they're interviewing Nandor. He's like, oh yes, this is the flood of 1892. It's like, oh god, I was going to ask about your skincare routine and everything like that. It's like, no, 1992, which would be an acceptable amount of distance of time. And then he starts freaking out because he's pretty much thinks that he's outed that he's a vampire and that they're vampires. And then everybody starts freaking out at the house. And each one has a certain kind of scenario that's kind of pegged to him. Laszlo's character, the actor just fucking still nails it, even though he's not given much to do other than pretty much he comes up with a plan, and that is to kill Janine? Well, kill the local reporter woman that pretty much got him, but then he moves it to kidnapping and then all these kind of plans. Nadja decides she's got the one that's pretty much the most kind of fleshed out, where she's been like run out of like 5 or 6 villages, and then at one point she was pretty much naked and hiding in a well, drinking goat's blood, which were like her friends. So she's got to-go bags with ancestral soil, emergency blood, all that kind of stuff, rehearsing even her kind of new identity and whatnot. Colin, for some reason, goes like last stand fucking mode for some reason and starts booby trapping the house. It like was very kind of strange. It had never really been shown that Colin was in that kind of like any propensity or at all for that kind of reaction to this news. Like out of all of them, he is the most chameleon-like and would just be able to just drop and like do whatever, really. We've seen that with him doing the stuff at the office, the campaign stuff, being a server and all that. It just didn't really warrant the reaction. Nandor would more have the last stand kind of reaction than he would. It was just kind of weird. Nandor's tried to figure out kind of what to do. The guide gets in on it and tries to like talk to the woman, say that we're vampires and that we want peace and everything like that. But of course, it's kind of like the local kind of crazy people that you see on the local news, where you're like, you don't really take them that seriously on certain kind of things. The water main kind of gets fixed and everything like that, so they're trying to figure out what's kind of going on. The doll really doesn't get much to do on this, but they at least temper Nadja's kind of stuff by actually giving her at least the most kind of stuff to work with. Pretty much calling Laszlo just stupid for doing these kind of plans. He's like, I have a 9-step plan. And then roping Nandor in, them having to figure out their kidnapping plot. Him berating Nandor for first getting a bag that's too small and then getting a see-through bag. And then they're trying to figure out what to kind of do. This, of course, links up with Guillermo kind of seeing what's on there, trying to like figure out what's going on, talking to Laszlo, and trying to get them to not do what they're going to do. And he's like, oh god, jeez. And then we see that they're essentially trying to like go after like the news people. But the thing is, they start using the antique automobile and it gets sucked into the sinkhole, and things start going kind of even nuttier. Colin sets the camera truck on fire, so its connection to the news station is shot. But then the local news woman's like, look at this, because the vampires all go into the hole and lift it all up. It's like, oh, sweet good God, you dumb motherfuckers. And she's like, oh shit, keep rolling. And of course the vampires are like, oh god, we're committed now. She's got the tape. We gotta get the tape. So they go there. They don't kidnap her, but I do know the weather woman gets drained by the guide. And it then gets pretty much to where I think this episode wanted to be the end point of our housemates, the vampires, do a local news segment as the local news anchors. They pretty much hypnotize and make the ones at the desk fall asleep. Nandor and Nadja take over and start doing their own kind of spiel and reading the prompter and everything, because they're like, oh god, we hypnotize these people to forget, but what about the people that are just tuning in? So they kind of run their bit for this like puppy parade that's going on. They kick it over to Colin, who does the weather, and this is where we see the guy just pretty much like killed someone and then just dragging the body off. And I'm like, isn't this something that like the head vampiric council would be like, you fuckers, like, if we don't get, because this was pretty much the predication of like the trial where Guillermo was pretty much killing the vampires to protect the vampires, and the vampiric council's like, what the fuck are you people doing? And this would pretty much have like outed vampires everywhere. It's like I would go viral like ain't nobody's business. Like, oh god. So Colin's pretty much going, yeah, perfect weather for a puppy parade and everything like that. We then get Laszlo doing sports, which is like, I really don't give a shit. And the thing is, Guillermo did get home before this all went down, and Nandor's like, oh yeah, we don't need you, we've got our own plan. And the best kind of part is Guillermo's like, alright then, cool. And then Colin pretty much tells him to watch out for booby traps, and then Guillermo lets these fucking assholes continue on their craziness as they get to the news station and everything like that, as he's just kind of like, yeah, I need to stop trying to protect them from the consequences of their asinine actions. So I like that character development on Guillermo's part, as he's pretty much kind of taking care of himself a little bit and just sitting there and just being like, yeah, I should just kind of let these assholes, like, stop them within a certain reasonable time. But if they're gonna fuck up and do some kind of crazy stuff, sometimes you gotta let people understand the consequences of their actions, which here they don't really get. They kind of work it out in themselves. And then we get a thing at the end where Guillermo is like, what the fuck's going on here? As he like has to run through all these booby traps and everything. It was like an alright little kind of thing at the end. It's just, it wasn't executed as well as I would have liked. Normally, in the earlier seasons, they would have been able to blend these more effectively, and Guillermo's definitely had potential to be balanced better here. They just kind of knock it onto and make it at least a bit that's important for Guillermo of understanding, fucking let these guys do it. If they're like, they don't need me, cool. I won't clean up their shit anymore. And just let the vampires go nutty. The thing is, it felt like the vampires were just boiled down to certain kind of traits or whatnot, and to just act this kind of certain way. Now, granted, what I mean by that is, I don't mind that everybody has certain kind of traits and everything like that. It's just these felt amped up, that Colin just out of nowhere is like, last stand mode, motherfucker, I got this shit. And Nandor just kind of latches on to Laszlo before leading everybody to pretty much go to the news station. We do see, I do like Nadja at least getting enough of be like, I'm in escape mode, and then the guide tries to like copy her example, and the thing is, she then makes her hair pretty much like brunette, like Nadja's was, and Nadja dyes her hair blonde. It's like, oh yeah, now they're going to be looking for a blonde and a brunette. Oh god, now we're kind of fucked here. And having her understanding, we at least got character background on the actions of what she was taking. That's the cool bit that I was like, okay, if they had done a little bit more on this, like, if Colin had been like, I was once found out, and I don't want to run anymore, that would have been cool. But they just was like, they did it for like the amped up crazy kind of comedy that they could potentially get out of it, rather than building it, making it character kind of centric for it, and then let the comedy naturally flowing from that. And Laszlo's was like just the least worked on. Now granted, the actor can sell pretty much anything, but normally you'd have him being like, I can charm these people, I do have a plan, and I would have liked to have seen him like go through that plan, or just like get to a point where like, all I've got is like, kill her or kidnap her, that's all I've got, Nandor, you fuck. And if you hadn't have just fucked us over here, we wouldn't be in this place. But we'll kind of have to see where this kind of goes. I hope that Guillermo continues on this kind of path and just continues to let the vampires kind of fuck themselves over to a degree, where he just kind of leaves and kind of gets his own kind of thing going with, I don't know, other vampires or whatnot. It would be a nice kind of growth kind of potential for him, and also to see that the vampires are like, we took this dude for granted, we can't do shit without him, we either have to learn, die, or get his ass back here. What are we gonna do? So we'll have to see how this season kind of ends. I'm not completely hating it, but the show has done better, and you can definitely see the seeds of that, because both of these stories had potential, and I really would have liked to have seen that potential better realized. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.